Hi, good evening everyone. I'm one of the producers of A Very Good Girl. We're just happy to be here, surrounded by passionate people. So I'm in charge of the production.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cory Vidanes. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm so excited to meet all of you. I am the creative producer of A Very Good Girl. What I do in Star Cinema is I oversee the creative development of the material from conceptualization up to post-production up to marketing. So basically, all throughout the birthing process of the movie. So there.
Hi everyone, thanks for being here. I'm Kriz, Gazmen. I'm the head of ABS-CBN Films. So I just bossed them around. So I'm in charge of overseeing everything with ABS-CBN Films. So from the development of our films up until distribution, marketing, and everything. So thank you guys. It means so much to us that you guys are here.
Hi everyone, my name is Gazmen.
Yay!
I'm actually part of ABS-CBN International Productions. And what I do there is I oversee script development for that department. So it's a specific division of ABS-CBN that wants to create content for the international audience.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm going to jump to you, Kriz.
Okay.
What has been the biggest challenge for you now as the managing director?
Oh my God, where do I start? Because it's always a challenge after a challenge after a challenge. But I think domestically, if I just focus first on the Philippine market, it's so difficult right now to bring audiences back to the cinemas. I think there was really a huge shift after the pandemic happened. A lot of people became so comfortable watching and streaming that it takes so much for people to go out of their homes and watch movies in the cinemas. So that's basically the biggest challenge that we had. Every December, you guys are familiar with the Metro Manila Film Festival, right? So it's only during the Metro Manila Film Festival that we observe that the audiences are going back to the cinemas. But Metro Manila Film Festival happens just once in a year, right? What's going to happen to the 11 months of the year that Filipino films are being shown in theaters and no one is watching? So A Very Good Girl was kind of a risk for us because that was the kind of direction that we felt the audiences are now looking for. And based on what we've been observing with the taste of the audiences, this is something that has never been done before. I mean, you guys are familiar with what KATHRYN is doing. DOLLY De Leon just, broke records in terms of her critical acclaim. And this kind of genre is something that we never touched on as Star Cinema. But we had the gut feel that this is what the audiences are looking for. And we're very happy because post-pandemic, this is the biggest film ever in the Philippines. In terms of the box office, that is outside the Metro Manila Film Festival. So it sort of gives us hope that there are things that we can do that's not just part of the MMFF. We can take advantage of the other 11 months in a year, and as long as it's the right project, we realize that people will really go back to the cinemas and watch. So I think that's the biggest challenge that we're facing right now, at least on the domestic level.
Great. Congratulations. Before I ask Carmen a question, may I request please the people in the back to please, the people in the back. We just want to be able to do this properly. So salamat po sa inyong suporta. Kooperasyon, yung pala. Pasensya na, hindi pa nagpili pa doon. So Carmi, tell me, was being creative director your original career goal?
No. When I was a little girl, I always wanted to be a broadcast journalist. Why? Because growing up, my mother lives her day, morning till night, listening and watching to ABS-CBN News. So I grew up, kapamilya. So when I went to college, my original plan was really to take up broadcast journalism, apply to ABS-CBN, and become a broadcast journalist. But life happened, and I got accepted in film school of the University of the Philippines, and I enjoyed the course. And from then on, it brought me to ABS-CBN also. So I started as creative assistant for Star Cinema. My gosh, almost 20 years ago.
But you found your way to, to what you do now. I mean, what gave you that parang gana, or to be able to do what you do?
Maybe it's really the passion to get the story, to tell the best version of a story. So ever since, from the start up until now, that's what keeps me going. I always want to see on the screen the best possible version of a story. This is a personal thing. Whenever I write movies, so when I was still in high school or college, I remember watching a movie in a cinema house. And it gave me that feeling that I'm never alone. The feeling that I feel is also being felt by everyone who was watching with me inside the cinema house. And that was magical. For a young person to discover that the feelings that I feel is being shared by others inside this small cinema house, even for just 2 hours. So I promised myself that whenever I make movies, I want that movie to make people who watch it feel less alone. So, yeah, so there. Because really is. I thank you.
Maraming salamat. Leo, tell me, what changes have you seen? You've been in the industry for quite some time now. What changes have you seen, the progress that you've seen in the filmmaking industry sa atin?
Thank you for that wonderful question.
Now, actually, I've been with ABS. Nag-realize ko kanina lang when
One of our drivers asked me, I'm 15 years na pala ako sa Star Cinema. So in terms of changes, I experienced us doing movies na talagang purely for entertainment. I mean ako, personally, ganun yung nararamdaman ko when I do movies before. So nung kinalaunan, one of the changes I feel, lalo na ngayon, because we're labeling what's happening with Star Cinema right now as new era. Experiencing that, we want to tell stories, but we're not just telling stories right now, we're telling stories with purpose.
So meron tayong revolutionary feeling na
Meron talaga tayong kailangan patunayan. Hindi na patunayan, kailangan
stories na ma-come across to not just for Filipinos, pero
Oh, yeah.
right now we're going to be come across yung gusto nating kwento internationally na din.
And I think it reflects in the works of Deco, no? I mean, I've been seeing a lot of independent films in the Philippines that are parang genre busting sila in a different way. They're representing and they're going to film festivals as well. So it's so great to witness na how far the industry has gone and how far it will still go. We're at that inflection point. Leia, Miss Leia.
International.
So you're based here in Los Angeles.
I am, yeah.
And you're starting a path for the company na hindi pa nagawa before. So this is
Trailblazing.
being a trailblazer is not for the faint of heart.
It's not.
But what key learnings have you gotten so far in terms of establishing our company here?
So basically, the office here is a startup, and just like any startup, you encounter a lot of challenges. And the big challenge that we're encountering right now is establishing legitimacy of the company, telling people ABS-CBN has been around for 70 years. We span many different platforms, including the Filipino channel. We are the first network to broadcast in color in Southeast Asia. I see. So you see what my spiel is when I go meet with studios and production companies. So that's one of the big things, right? And then the other thing, of course, is because production companies and storytelling companies obviously live and die with the stories they tell. And so just like any production company in Hollywood, when we are functioning as a legitimate production company studio in Hollywood, the challenge is to look for real stories, the stories that have something to say, like what you said, the stories that make people feel less alone, right? Because these are the stories that will resonate with everyone. And this is the challenge of Warner Brothers. This is also our challenge. And perhaps why there's a need to establish legitimacy with, because you know how the Hollywood system works, is that you need that to have access to the creatives that could tell those stories. Of course, there are creatives here, and so we're very excited that we're being introduced to all of you guys, and we're very excited to be hearing all your stories and see what could move past and what stories, what human stories we can tell from this wonderful batch of creative filmmakers.
Awesome. And Kriz, how are films developed in the Philippines? Can you kind of get us through the process?
Yeah. So, there's quite a shift also that happened because before the pandemic, you know, the Philippines is still very star system prior to the pandemic, which means we look at who the major stars are and we kind of develop materials for them. So, for example, one of them is KATHRYN BERNARDO. It's always planning the career of these artists. So, these things still happen now. Of course, we need to give, hello? Hello? Okay. Can I be heard there? Okay, because I can't hear myself. So right now, we still plan the careers of all our top artists. But I think the shift that happened now is, from being very star-driven, we're now very story-driven. So, what that means is that our creatives now are very much empowered to tell the story that they want to tell. It's now no holds barred. We always ask them, what's your dream story that you want to tell? I remember Carlo, during our sessions, he's always asking, what is the story that you want to tell if you're not gonna think of the box office, if you're not going to think of the ratings? Because at the end of the day, a good story comes from the soul of the creator, right? And if it's always modeled by the pressure of success, of box office and all that, you kind of see it in the output. So right now, we try to be more authentic. We try to respect the artist's voice and at the same time see how it works for the market that we're serving right now. Because at the end of the day, it's still in the service of the audiences that we want to communicate to. So there, it's now a healthy balance of providing movies to the top stars of ABS-CBN and at the same time respecting the creative voices of our creators and storytellers. So there.
Very exciting.
Thank you, Yong.
Stephanie, in terms of stories and subjects that you pursue, in terms of what films and TV shows to make, how do you decide which ones in terms of the topic? Or, for instance, do you stay away from subjects that are controversial because of the political climate?
You know, before, I guess, the pandemic, there were many limitations in the kinds of stories that we tell, mainly because of what Kriz explained. We were always thinking of the stars first, of the actors first, what would be the best project for them, what would be the best story for them. But after the pandemic, and with this new era that we're going into, as Kriz said, it's no holds barred. When it comes to the controversial political issues, I personally believe that as a creator, you are very creative enough to smuggle in your messages in your stories. Political stories doesn't have to be political dramas.
It doesn't have to be out and out.
It doesn't have to be out and out. It can be in a comedy. It can even be in a romance movie, right? So, yeah.
In fact, it is my personal belief that stories that are not as overt in their messaging are actually even more powerful because you don't realize that you're being told or being fed something, but you are.
And Carmi, as a follow-up, for a very good girl, we see some things that I don't think I've seen in Filipino films before that are tackled, that are, like, it's right there. There are issues about toxicity in relationships, toxic cultural traits, and the stars are anti-heroes. Tell me about that. What do you think is the benefit of that, of telling stories like that?
It's honest. It speaks with honesty. It comes, as Kriz said, from the soul of those creators, how they see the world and what they want to say. The writers of A Very Good Girl are all young writers, very young writers. There are three: Dominic Manghol, Jumbo Albano, and Daniel Sanyana. They're in their 20s. The youngest one is a Gen Z. The story creator of the movie. Dom is I think 23 years old. So this is how they see the world. This is how they see their surroundings, how they see relationships with their parents, with their peers. So the benefit of that is you are giving a platform, you are giving an opportunity for these young people to tell their stories in their most authentic way. And you get to learn how they see the world. There's so much to learn from them also.
And I love it. I love it. Yes, please applaud.
Thank you.
Because, the only way that we can change for the better is to show, like, put a mirror up through films, through popular art. And tell me, Leo, what are, in trying to get to enter the global market, what steps are being made by the company in terms of making sure that we can get our foot in?
I think Kriz will answer that for us.
Kriz will answer it.
At the heart of it, I think, Yong, it's the story. Every story that we do has to resonate with an international market. It's already given that they're being told by Filipino filmmakers. But like what Carmi said, right, the stories that we tell make us feel less alone. And I feel like Filipino stories aren't exclusive to Filipinos alone. We share the same emotions, right? We feel everybody in the world feels anger. Everybody in the world feels joy or sadness or whatever. So as long as it's a story that we strongly feel that will resonate to an international market, that's one thing that we're going to that we pursue. Secondly, I think we're no longer comfortable in terms of doing what we used to do in terms of our technical standards. That's one thing that we really had to upgrade. Meaning to say, we will hire the best cinematographers, the best directors of photography. We will get them the best equipment so that the visual language is seen on screen. And of course, one of the biggest things that we had to upgrade was the sound experience of it. So we had to fly to Thailand because the kind of quality that we wanted in terms of sound, we partnered with Cantana, which is one of the best post-production houses in Southeast Asia. So it's really more on upping the game, elevating all these technical standards. And third, we needed to make sure that in terms of distribution, we're gonna be there internationally. So we're working with a lot of distribution partners. So we're in over 100 cinemas in the US. So I know that's still limited, and moving forward, we want to partner with somebody who can bring us to 1,000 cinemas in the United States if that's possible. That's the goal, We really want to break through in terms of mainstream US. And part of that is this is one of our baby steps, Yong. Before, we don't do this, right? We just promote our films in the Philippines and just pray to God that people in the world will watch it. But right now, it's very deliberate that we come here. We have a premiere here in LA. We get in touch with you guys. We ask you guys in person for your support to spread the word of a very good girl to all your peers, to the Filipino and non-Filipino communities here. And I think that really, really matters to us, you know, establishing our presence here, because one day we really believe we're going to break it through Hollywood. So that's the dream for us.
If I may, besides what Kriz has said, actually it starts from the bottom, right? Like, in terms of mindset,